Political analyst Scott Hughes is here for a little bit. Hey, Mr. Scott, how are you today?
Good morning, Robert and Aaron.
Erin's all proud of herself. She's got the poll up. It's a year away from the Shreveport mayoral election, which, you start and think about it, stop and think about it. The year will go by exceedingly fast. But is it too early to start talking about how things may shape up for who will be the next boss of the city?
Well, I don't think it's too early to start to talk about how they're going to shape up. Talking about who's going to win is a different issue. The first thing we have to know is who's going to run. And I think that's where all the speculation is, Robert. People are looking at names and they're playing what if. We likely have not even seen half the field yet in terms of real names.
When she listed her potential candidates in her poll online at keelnews.com, she started basically with every city council person except James Fleury.
No, he's in there.
You put Fleury in there, too?
Yeah, he's in there. They're all in there.
If there's one guy who's not going to run, it's
I
Fleury.
know.
Are there any city council people that start with that list, sans Fleury, who you think out of the box would be the front runner?
Well, I think out of the box probably is going to be Bradford or Bowman. Bowman is the one that most folks have felt has the best chance to run for mayor. I think he's got some political baggage in many different compartments, but from the council, I think it's Bowman. I don't think you're going to see any of the white council persons run at this point. And when you look at the African American council persons, Bradford and Stephanie Lynch and Bowman, I think Bowman's the one that would be the most electable at this time.
Do you see one or two council members actually running? Most of them in my contact with them about whether they wanted to be included said, that's really interesting. I'm not interested, but put me in there just in case.
Well, I really don't see any of the council persons running. The two I think that would have appeal. We just talked about Bowman, because I think he has some appeal through his mother's legacy and through some politics he could put together. Jeff Everson's the other one people have talked about, a white candidate from the council that could possibly have some crossover African-American vote, given he represented the swing district, District B. But I don't think Everson's going to run. I don't think he's electable. This may be a year where I don't think you get a person elected from the city council.
You saw my list. You saw the poll numbers so far. Who's missing from the list, Scott? Somebody texted me that Jim Talifero was interested. I personally had a conversation with Liz Swain, who told me not interested. Don't even think about it. Who else is missing? Who should be included when I do a new one in December?
Well, you're not going to like my answer, Aaron, but I think the person missing is the winner. I don't think the winner's on the list.
Wow.
I think when you look at the list, the only takeaway that I get from the list, the two biggest vote getters, they get almost 60% combined, are Stephen Jackson and Jeff Everson. And what I take away from that is people want somebody new. The Shreveport has a long history, with very few exceptions, of the person that wins mayor has served on the city council. One of the few exceptions was was Ollie Tyler to come along. There's been one or two others, but we almost always look for a council person. I don't think the person's coming off the council. I really think that the way the voter electorate is today in Shreveport, that it is prime for a candidate we don't even know about yet to rise up. A Victoria Provenza type candidate. I'm not saying it's Victoria, but
Jim Talifero type? A Jim Talifero type, or is he too far on the right?
Well, Jim may be a little too far right. The issue with the Shreveport mayor's race is you really have to look at a white candidate that can carry most of the white vote and then be attractive and get 20% crossover African-American vote, or an African-American candidate that can win in the primary, get on the ballot, be one of the two persons, and then be able to carry most of the black vote on the runoff day and have some crossover white vote. And that's where, I think Talifero could run well in the white community. I don't know what his crossover appeal would be.
Mr. Scott, we've been talking about this for 5 minutes now. And the name Ollie Tyler has yet to be mentioned. In fact, you just said a couple of seconds ago, I think the voters are looking for someone new. In your opinion, what is the status of the current mayor, and what will that status be in 12 months?
I really don't think she's even going to run, personally. I think your poll, that would be a great example to look at your poll. I checked it when I was traveling yesterday. It had over 900 responses, and she's polling less than 5%. That is not a good number for an incumbent. That's a number that says don't even run.
Why do you?
Well, a number that says don't even run?
Well, when you're put up against 12 other names, and basically 96% of the people say they would prefer someone other than the known incumbent, I think that speaks to people want somebody new.
What's her biggest problem? If you had to point to it, what would you tell her? What her biggest problem is?
Well, I think her biggest problem is, number one, she inherited some problems. But after a while, you can't blame the previous administration. She hasn't handled them well. We still are mudding through the water and sewer. We still are dealing with crime issues, and crime is funny, but you're the leader, and unfortunately, results get tagged on the leader, and so the crime situation in Shreveport is being pinned on this administration. I think that they just sort of have a aura of ineptness around them. The whole debacle around the development and the D-League basketball team, that didn't help their image, because in the end they walked away, although they may be better off not having gotten it, but they walked away a loser on that project.
Mr. Scott, we had Jerry Bowman on last week. We had Stephanie Lynch on last week. Bowman said in the mayoral race next year, he said the number one issue will be crime, law and order, etc. Stephanie Lynch said no way that it will be jobs and the economy. Your thoughts on both of those?
I think they're both correct. I think you're looking at that is the mayor's race. And, the two are directly linked. The reason we're having more and more crime is because we're not producing jobs. We're not producing hope where people feel they can raise a family and pay their bills. And so that's leading to crime. But you'll see both of those, and it depends what community you're talking to. I think a large part of the community right now, crime is the number one issue. You see it every night on social media. Social media has put a magnifying glass on the crime taking place. But the underlying cause and what people are looking at, do I want to continue to live in Shreveport, is jobs. I can live through a crime wave. I can't live through not making income.
Scott Hughes, local political consultant and watchdog. Hope you'll join us in studio. We're going to do a new one in December. Maybe you can help me put it up.
Be glad to. I'm glad to be back in town, and thank you all for trying to make the voters aware a year out that there will be a mayor's race. This one's going to be important.